Claire wanted to show me how addiction affects the family by drawing my family's genogram, which is like a family tree.
So, this is your father.
Yeah.
His name was George.
Yeah. Mother was Angela.
Mother is Angela. Do you have any other siblings?
No.
None at all? Okay. That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah. You looked really strange then. What were you thinking?
What I'm thinking is that for somebody who is an only child of a family where there is alcoholism, is that quite a lot will land on you. You know, it's not shared around.
Yeah.
Sometimes if there's 2 or 3 children in the family, and some people will take up different positions and will soak up some of the distress, whereas if there's just one child in the family, you kind of get everything.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice. I think about that too a lot.
Yeah. And it's also, by its very nature, quite lonely.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Yeah. This is your grandmother, and she died.
She was a drinker.
Okay. So if I had a red pen, I would probably be putting an A here for addiction and an A here for addiction.
That's why I sometimes ask about the gene connection of the drinking, because I thought my dad was an alcoholic, my dad's mom was an alcoholic, you know what, for all I know, a peer could have been the same, you know?
Yeah. People who are addicted often have ancestors who are addicted as well. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to end up with an A on here.
Yeah.
So that's the best relationship on the page?
Yeah, without a doubt.
So which is the worst relationship on the page?
The worst? Well,
let's say more difficult. This is the easiest.
This one was the most difficult that there was, possibly, without a doubt.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This was tough. This was me trying my hardest, non-stop, reaching, you know? Even, you know, and I knew it was there and I knew he wanted it, but the reality is he couldn't even show it because he was so, and all I knew about this was a third party. Like, he could have been married to alcohol. Like, that could be a marriage right there if there was booze, you know?
So I guess I'm thinking you didn't have
a father figure? No. I searched for it, though. I wanted it, and I know he wanted it, too. But the alcohol was so in him.
All-consuming.
He couldn't, you know? And I feel so horrible about that, but like I said, no, there's not much I can do about it.
And as much as you did, and as hard as you tried, you couldn't get through.
No. Yeah.
Okay.
Claire has helped thousands of addicts over the years, and has also seen firsthand the impact their substance abuse has had on their children.
I have questions that I think, I wish I'd asked my father this, or I wish that I knew these answers. And then sometimes today, before I got here, I was a bit nervous coming here to talk to you and ask you some of these questions, because I sometimes hit points where I go, you know, I don't care, it's too late, it's already happened. And I think these are all effects of maybe not having these answers back then, and that's why.
Or maybe not having the questions before.
You know?
As we talked, what Claire was saying began to affect me, and I told her more about my dad's drinking.
And I think this guilt would kick in, and he would just go on massive benders. I think the alcohol took over so much that it couldn't allow him to express how he really felt. Sorry, I gotta have a look at this because I want to ask you some questions about children, if you don't mind.
I mean, I think it's interesting that you should say that, because that's a story that we hear many, many times. You know, it sounds very sad to me that happened. You know, it seems as though what he was probably doing was, you know, feeling very anxious and nervous about seeing you, and used a kind of stress-reducing behaviour, which is to, you know, get drunk, which actually invokes stress.
Yeah, on everybody around him.
Exactly.
But it's good now that I'm talking about it. Like I said, it's so off and on. There's anger there within me, and then there's sometimes guilt.
Why wouldn't you be angry there?
Yeah, I know, but then I think, why am I angry? What am I don't know.
Well, what you're describing is that kind of being let down, and in any normal situation, if we were let down, we might feel angry.
Yeah.
But I think when we're faced with somebody who really we know is unwell, and they're letting us down because they're unwell, we feel guilty because we feel angry.
Yeah.
I tried to get back to my questions.
What are the big impacts on children growing up that have parents that are addicts?
Well, I mean, in some ways, you could answer that question.
I know.
Couldn't you?
I want to.
But I mean, it's got to be to do with relationships, hasn't it? You will have been affected by the relationship that you had with him then, and I guess that will affect the way that you go about having relationships.
Well, you've just hit a very, very close note to me, because I sometimes wonder, and this is difficult for me to say this, but I have real commitment issues in relationships. Do you think that, just from your opinion, do you think that has anything to do?
Strike a chord with me, yes. Because, alcohol turns relationships on its head.
Yeah.
There's that kind of thing when children or partners or parents may feel when the person who is doing the using or drinking is choosing the alcohol or drugs over them.
That was a big battle I had as well, thinking, as my father chose alcohol over me,
And can you imagine how that might make you feel about yourself?
Yeah.
You okay?
Yeah, good. It just gets me thinking. I'm all right, thank you. Sorry. It's funny, before I sat down with you, I thought, nah, I could take it. 4 years later, Dad's passed away, it's all right, but, that's my stubbornness. I didn't think I'd actually... Just 1 second. I find myself a lot saying, all right, laugh about it because you won't cry, It's funny, too, because before I sat down, I texted my mother, and I was like, you know what, today I can't be asked. I can't really be bothered. She goes, probably because you got so much underlying hatred,
Yeah.
Sorry. And there's a lot of hate.
You see, the thing is, Calum, it's not your fault,
Yeah, I know it's not, but fuck. It's just shit. It's too late. But it's life, these things happen.
It's not too late for you to deal with how you feel about things.
Yeah, no. My head just turns into a wreck sometimes. So I think, all right, get on with it. It's closure. My dad's passed. Deal with it. Move on. But these things affect you no matter what, no matter how long down the line. It's hardcore.
Well, there's nobody who's got a sort of rule book on closure on how long it's going to take you to...
Yeah, but I just wonder if it comes,
Yeah, it does come.
Yeah.
For sure. But you see, only if you can do this, really, is